Howdy folks, Sam here. I hope you're well. Today we're going to talk about 7th Arpeggios, and like before, I'm going to give you a couple of practice routines to help you memorize them. Like in previous lessons, we're going to, take these routines and either move through them chromatically, or we're going to practice them going around the circle of fifths or the cycle of fourths. Before I begin, two pieces of housekeeping. First, as you may have noticed, I'm no longer calling these beginner harmonica lessons. Today's lesson on 7th Arpeggios is going to act as the basis for us going into blues and going into jazz. And I think if you're ready to look at that, and I think if you're ready to understand the theory behind what we're going to talk about today, I don't think you're a beginner anymore. So good for you. Give yourself a pat on the back. As I said in my first video, I can only teach you so much music theory. I don't have the time, money, or resources to do super professional videos that give you long, extensive lessons on music theory. So if what I talk about today doesn't fully make sense, please just stop, look at some other resources online, and try and get your head around the theory behind 7th Arpeggios. I will be talking a little bit about the theory there. Second point of housekeeping is that in previous lessons, I've nannied you a little bit, and I've been sort of very extensive in saying, to play this scale, you need to play these notes, and you need to play these holes on the harmonica. And, I've done that for all 12 scales, or, going around major arpeggios, your 12 basic major triad arpeggios. And it's been very long and very convoluted. So I'm going to strip that down. I'm going to trust that you've been keeping up with your music theory and that you can, see what I'm trying to teach you in the exercise and then just run with it. Okay, so when we look at 7th arpeggios, we need to go back to looking at the triads, which I've shown you before when we've looked at major and minor arpeggios. When we build and when we actually construct a major and minor arpeggio, the interval between, the root and the third and the fifth is always that of a third. It's either a major third or a minor third. So in C major, it's C, E, G. The distance between C and E is an interval of 2 tones or 4 semitones. Call that an interval of a major third. The interval between E and G, the third and the fifth, is 1.5 tones or 3 semitones. We call that a minor third. So major third, minor third. We do C minor, we reverse that. So it would be C to E flat, which is a minor third, and then E flat to G, which is a major third, to the fifth. Now when we add the 7th, we're just adding another interval of a third on top of the 5th. So to give my first example of a 7th, it will be a C major, which from the 5th is adding an interval of a major third. So we're going to add B onto that C triad. I added the octave on there as well. And that's all I'm doing. When we look at 7th chords, all they really are is an arrangement of, those intervals of either a third, either a major third or a minor third, and we're just varying them. And there are many, many different types of ways that you can do that. I'm going to concentrate today on the 5 most common forms, which is going to be the major 7, the dominant 7, the minor 7, the minor 7 flat 5, and the diminished. So let me take C as an example. We're going to start with the major 7, so we're going to start with that C major triad. And then, as I said, we're going to add a major third on that, which is going to give us B. So the easy way to remember the major 7th is that the 7th note is 1 semitone below the octave. Next, we have the dominant 7th, which is now we're flattening the 7th, so we're going from G to B, we're going from G to B flat. So it's going from an interval to a minor third, but with a major triad as the basis of the chord. So that's going to be B flat in our example of C, and that sounds like this. And again, the easy way to remember that one is that the 7th note is a tone below the octave, or 2 semitones, however you want to look at it. So for our minor 7th, we're going to leave that 7th note there, and we're going to flatten the third to give us a minor triad with that dominant 7th on top. So in the case of C minor 7th, that's going to be an E flat that we're at, instead of an E natural. So that's going to sound like this. Easy stuff. Our next arpeggio is the minor 7 flat 5, so we're going to keep that form, and this time instead of flattening the third, which we've already done, we're going to flatten the fifth, as the name suggests. So the fifth in that is G, we're going to flatten that to F sharp, and that's going to sound like this. Lastly, but by no means least, my favourite chord is the diminished chord, where we're now going to place all intervals at a minor third from each other. So we've done that from C to E flat, which is third, minor third, E flat to F sharp is a minor third, and we're going to do F sharp to A, so we're going to flatten the seventh, and then we're going to keep the octave C on top. So that's going to sound like this. Good stuff. I hope that makes sense. If my explanation doesn't make sense, please pause the video and, go on Wikipedia and, look up 7th arpeggios. So to give you a sense of what those arpeggios sound like to chords, here's me running through that on the guitar for you. This is a C major 7. This is a C dominant 7. Immediately sounds bluesy. C minor 7. C minor 7 flat 5. And our good friend the diminished. Good stuff. So the first way we're going to practice these is to work those 5 forms just either running at the root note and just going up chromatically. So we're going to take C, we're going to go, that was a C major 7, now we're going to play a C dominant 7, now we're going to play a C minor 7, C minor 7 flat 5, C dominant 7. So next I'm going to go up chromatically, I think. So I'm going to play C sharp major 7, C sharp dominant 7, C sharp minor 7, C sharp minor 7 flat 5, and C sharp diminished. So next I'm going to play D major 7, D dominant 7, D minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, D diminished. And so on and so forth. Just practice those 5 patterns, either going around chromatically or around the circle of fifths, however you want to do it. So my second method of practicing those 5 arpeggios is to relate each one of those arpeggio forms to its position within a diatonic scale, or well, I'm going to use the major scale for this example. Let me explain what I mean. So if I play C major, each one of those notes has a corresponding 7th arpeggio, and it uses all of the notes in that scale. So if I play C major, so if I play the first note of C major, which is C, the corresponding arpeggio is a C major 7. When I play D, which is the second note, or the supertonic, it's a minor 7, and it uses still the notes that are found in a C major scale, but with a minor sound. The median, E, which is the third note in the major scale, C major, is also a minor 7. That sounds like this. F is the fourth of the subdominant, and is a major 7 again. G is the dominant, and consequently we have a dominant arpeggio, major dominant arpeggio. A is the relative minor, so again we've got another minor arpeggio. So B is the leading note, and we tend to play a minor 7 flat 5 there as well, because all of those notes fall within the scale. We also tend to play a diminished arpeggio there as well, and that also often fits. So I appreciate the G sharp isn't within the C major scale, but we add that as an accidental. And then we're back to C. So method number 2 is to simply, again, either move up chromatically of your scales and to play each arpeggio with its corresponding note in that scale. So I've just done C. I normally go around the cycle of fifths, so I'm going to go around the cycle of fourths. So next would be F. Next around the cycle of fourths is B flat. And next around the cycle of fourths is E flat, which is a bit of a classic jazz key. Excuse me while I just catch my breath. That was a bit unclear, excuse me, that's an A flat major 7. Then we've got B flat. And so on and so forth. You can do that around the whole cycle of fourths, cycle of fifths. You can move that up chromatically, however you want to do it. So to give you a sense of what that sounds like on the guitar, playing chords, here's my C major scale up here. Here's my C major 7. Here's my D minor 7. Here's my E minor 7. Here's my F major 7. Here's my G dominant 7. Here's my A minor 7. Here's my B minor 7 flat 5. Then make it into a diminished. And then play the octave up in C major 7. And how people use those chords, you know, related to diatonic theories, basically how people write songs. Pretty cool, huh? So lastly, as a little bit of a bonus, all those arpeggio forms and that last exercise of playing the scale, then the arpeggios associated to it, you should absolutely try and do on the diatonic. And I'm giving myself a slap on the wrist because I haven't been practicing those on the diatonic until about a week ago when I was like, why aren't you doing this on the diatonic, Sam? It's just crazy. And I've noticed quite a few gaps in my playing and my technique, which I'm now working very hard to try and fill in. One of those gaps is that I really should be bending much more accurately than I am. And I'm really struggling to bend the 10-hole blow, whereas I'm quite confident blowing the 8 and the 9 blow. But yeah, getting the 10 up to scratch is, you know, sort of a next step for me. The other thing was more of a conceptual point of view. I've always looked at the diatonic and just been like, well, you know, second position, third position, I'll use that for blues and rock, which is 90% of what I do with my band. I've never really thought of it as a first position instrument. And then I was like, well, first position using those arpeggios would be really great for blues and jazz. So I'm giving myself a slap on the wrist, and I'm going through that now at the moment. I'll do my best to give you an idea of what those arpeggios sound like There are others that you can do out of the scale as well. So like I'm going to play a C major 7th here, but you can do like a C dominant 7th by bending that third hole and all that sort of stuff you can look into yourself. But anyway, here we go. And then the one I always struggle with, which is I need to learn how to bend that 10. That's me for the rest of the month. Is going to be working on tightening that up. And give me another couple of weeks and I should have another lesson for you on the chromatic. I hope that was fun and enjoyable for you. I hope it made sense on some level. And look forward to speaking to you guys again soon. Take care.